In today's episode of the Pathline Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Ashleigh Mason, and she's hailing over as the Sales and Marketing Director at Apostrophe. And Apostrophe is an interesting tool. It's a website builder for your business. There's an open source side to it. There's a B2B enterprise side to it. Today, we're going to be diving into both of them, understanding better, but also the interrelationship between an open source product that has a B2B side to it as well, so that we fully understand that. And also learn about how Ashleigh thinks about growth for the company. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, very good. Maybe give us, that 360 overview. What is Apostrophe all about in your own words?
Wonderful. Sure. Apostrophe is at its core, an open source CMS website builder product. So there's a bit of a two-sided coin here. Apostrophe was a project started about a decade ago as an open source CMS. It has grown and developed with a lot of community backing and commitment to it, and it has evolved into this really formidable CMS that is best in class WYSIWYG. It's got a really dynamic editing interface, so making content editors extremely happy in the platform, but also having the latest technology, really committing to the highest level of tech for that developer experience as well. So finding that balance in a CMS in an open source environment. Apostrophe has since grown with our commercial offerings, where we have a website builder platform, which is Apostrophe Assembly. Apostrophe Assembly is a multi-site B2B website builder that is using all of that powerful Apostrophe CMS open source product, but adding different levels that are enterprise ready for scale and growth of our enterprise customers.
Yeah, you mentioned the enterprise customers there. Maybe tell us a little bit, like what types of companies are leveraging Apostrophe Assembly? What industries, what size, who are the people, who is benefiting most of that solution?
Sure, that's a great question. One of our most recognizable large enterprise customers is Michelin. Michelin has been a great partner for Apostrophe, not only in a commercial sense, where they now have over 300 sites across the globe, many languages, many brands, and many business lines running on Apostrophe, but they also have a great commitment also to open source. So a lot of the work that we produce for them in a commercial space, they share that same value proposition of making this type of work available to other open source developers and allowing that access, which is a great partnership for us. We recently, just at the close of last year, won a supplier award from Michelin as an organization that really just helps to cement how we are aligned in not only our business, but our values as well. We also have many other customers in different industries. Kimpton Hotels and Resorts, they're a restaurant group. We have 60 plus websites of restaurants running on our assembly product. So that's a multi-site, individual boutique, high-level brands under the Kimpton, under the larger Kimpton brand, but they all have these great unique websites all running on one dashboard. So it extends from the retail to hospitality. We have a lot of SaaS partners that are integrating their technology and using Apostrophe as the CMS component, either in a full stack deployment or in a headless way. So really interesting customers across industries, but really trying to find that way that they're looking for that piece of the technology stack that's going to help leverage their business and help them grow.
Super interesting. What would you say, like who within those enterprises is picking up on Apostrophe? Is it like, a designer? Is it like, I don't know, content manager? Is it like the marketing manager? Like who brings in sort of the idea typically?
Typically, we do lean much more heavily into the technical side. So a lot of our value props really speak to the technical groups, whether that's chief technical officer, you know, a CTO, head of product. That's really who is typically our first stage. And what's interesting is, you know, we do put a lot of weight on that balance between the technology side and the content editor side. So typically that, you know, CTO may come to us because they've seen the documentation, they've seen us in open source and say, okay, you know, this is viable. How do we make this work? But they're also speaking on behalf of that editing team or their marketing team or their brand team. And they need to make them happy as well, because they're the ones, you know, living and breathing in that site to communicate the brand message, right? So we usually, our introductions are typically in that technical lead, but our closing is really to show like how turnkey this can be for teams to turn it on, empower their communication, and enable them to work in a more timely and efficient way without being withheld from that kind of technical interface.
That makes sense. That's very interesting. Like, how do you think then about the website in that sort of scenario? Like, what role does the website play for the journey of those, you know, individuals learning about Apostrophe? It's quite sort of ironic because obviously, probably, I'm assuming the page is obviously all built on Apostrophe. So, like, how, you know, what role does the website play in their journey, in your mind?
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that it is interesting. You know, we certainly watch for where our best opportunities come in, and our website, our, you know, apostrophecms.com is our marketing website, where we are looking to not only inform developers that want to understand Apostrophe and how they can get started today, go install, go play, start a project right now, without any sort of, you know, obligation or commercial relationship. So we want to make sure that we're communicating that, but we also want to have, you know, those pillar pages that talk about our commercial solutions and how to book those demos, those call to actions to have the conversation. You know, we do get a lot of our lead generation does come from our documentation and in the open source community, GitHub, you know, et cetera. Some even come through our Discord channel, where, you know, people have done proof of concept on their own and they said, okay, now we're ready. Who do we talk to? So it's definitely a diversification of where that interest comes in. But our website is really to help clarify what we have to offer and hopefully start that conversation. So we can try to, you know, qualify if we are the right match for whatever the interest or need might be.
Cool. I mean, given that you guys are very like community driven, you mentioned the Discord channel there. What's something maybe that you've learned, managing and growing that community that is maybe something that is, I don't know, counterintuitive or that surprised you about, you know, running a company like this and keeping it running, I guess, is one of the most important tasks.
Yeah, I think that, you know, the community is such a critical piece to any open source project, but, you know, also as a younger company, you know, Apostrophe as a commercial business has only been around for a few years. And so that community of developers, you know, coding in real time, right? You get immediate feedback. You know, and you're held to a really high standard. So that, you know, kind of feet to the fire, making sure that you're, you know, continuing to put out your best work and collaborating to help others put out their best work. One of the things I enjoy the most when I'm in those channels is, you know, others celebrating others' successes. You know, we have, you know, within our channel a show and tell. And when someone, you know, launches their site, whether it's commercial or not, you know, for us, that they just want to show their work. And, you know, people are going in from all over the world. There is a very, you know, small amount of limitation to be able to collaborate in that way and celebrate the success of, you know, people's work going live. That's a really extraordinary piece. And, you know, us being able to lean on our lean on our community where, we are growing as an organization. And while we onboard people for not only, dedicated to the product and, maintaining our core there, but also in our commercial sense, people that have been using Apostrophe for years, we see if there's an opportunity that they want to, contribute at a different level, and partner with us in different ways since they've already been hands-on for so long. So that's been a really great benefit of, committing ourselves into that community.
Where can people find the community? Like, if developers are listening in right now, like, or, website builders, like where can they find the community?
Sure. GitHub, /apostrophe CMS. That's where you can find us. We're very active in discussions there. We do have an Apostrophe Discord channel where our team is in there every day, whether it's a quick troubleshoot or, where the community jumps in as well. And, some announcements and showcase of, other people's work from around the world. Those are probably our two most active channels. And, we have some fun on Twitter as well, just, sharing what's going on, whether it's releases, new site launches, new partnerships. We are very active there as well.
Super, super interesting. Maybe one last question on the website, because you were talking about the sort of lead generation and the different ways about it. What have you learned in your career as a marketer? It doesn't necessarily only need to be Apostrophe, but also in previous roles. Like, what were like methods, tools, approaches that you've picked up and found to be very helpful when it comes to, figuring out why people do not convert, or, lifting conversions from a website?
Yeah, I think, we are in continuous improvement on our website and that lead generation. And what's been critical for Apostrophe is to try and qualify at the top. In previous organizations that I've worked with, it's very clear why someone may come to the business with a need, where they want to, have a conversation or, submit an RFP, whatever it may be. It's very clear what the offering is. Here in Apostrophe, we're wearing multiple hats and serving very different groups. And so we don't want someone that's interested in an open source project and wants to learn more about Apostrophe be turned off because it's really only an enterprise environment. But we also don't want to lose that opportunity to service an enterprise opportunity because we're not talking about it. So really qualifying at the top is critical, because once we are able to have the conversation where it's already qualified and vetted what path that visitor is coming in through, that's where we can be most successful and give the most successful experience to that visitor. So we're not wasting breath with them, and we're getting them to, the right place to satisfy the need that they came with.
Very cool. I would like to switch gears completely as we're slowly approaching the end of the interview. We learned a lot about Apostrophe, what you guys are doing, how you're serving the two sides, the open source side and the enterprise side, how you're thinking about growth. And I would love to, wrap it up with some rapid fire questions to get to know you a little bit better.
Okay, let's do it.
Very good. What is the last book you read or the last podcast you listened to?
Well, I can say the book that I'm currently reading is The Storyteller, Dave Grohl. Very interesting book, and he's a magician with words in his songs. So it's been an interesting read in a more in a different medium.
What is one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Single, that's a tough one. There's many objectives. I think right now is our team building the resources internally to take opportunities from other companies, and being able to give that great experience and bring more people onto the Apostrophe platform.
If there would be no boundaries in tech, what would be the one thing that you would fix for your role today?
There was no boundaries in tech. That's funny. I feel that that tech is how you apply it, right? So the boundaries, I feel like you put that on yourself. I think that where you might limit yourself is the ability to listen, and tech isn't what gives you that ability. So a little bit backwards of an answer, but
probably one of my favorite answers to it, actually. I think it's very good. What is the last thing that kept you awake at night about your company?
Last thing that kept me awake at night about my company. Right now, and I think that, oh goodness, anyone listening to this in a more real time, it probably shares this, is the limited opportunity to have conversations with the right people in the same room. A lot of what Apostrophe has to offer obviously can be done on a screen. But like I said before, that listening component to customers or users is so valuable. And that's very lost in only Zoom environments. So I think that's what keeps me up at night, waiting for that time where we can be in the same rooms together, go to conferences, have coffees in hotel lobbies to talk about what's the latest going on. That's what keeps me up at night. But I know that's soon going to be a memory.
For the very last question, I would like to do a little bit of time travel and travel back to the days of formal education. You've been through Warren University and later put on top West Texas A&M University education. Now you're heading out of formal education, right? And you're off into your path of business development and marketing. What is the one advice you would give yourself?
That there is no time to end that education. It continues, and you can find it in every place, whether it's the last book that you read that inspires something completely outside of your immediate role, great webinars or podcasts that inform you about your field. I love formal education. I'm a big advocate of it. I don't think I've aged out of it just yet. So I think that, just to advocate for continued education wherever you can find it, and advocate in your businesses, your organizations, your teams, that it's important for yourself and others to make those resources available and make introductions to, hey, this was a great presentation and program, you should check it out too, and really just continue that. There is no end to learning.
Ashleigh, I really appreciate you took the time to be a guest on Pathfund Presents with us today. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Apostrophe today, what's the one thing they should remember?
That Apostrophe is not only a tool, but a opportunity to plug in what may already built and be an enabler for both developers and content editors to enjoy their work, be on a platform that can excel their production and their work, and something that they can be very proud of.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathfund Presents.
Thank you so much for having me.